Greetings from the Erie Coast. This is Mad Shad. And this is the continuation of the story of the god Mark. So we left off. Mark has finally died again for the umpteenth thousandth time in a cave outside of a Shaolin monastery, where he lived to be a ripe old age of 100, 115, I don't know. But it was the first real life that he ever had. So Mark, of course, when he dies, he boom, he gets reincarnated right away into another body, another baby. He is born again, over and over and over. And yes, I'm talking to you from my bedroom, in my bed. So I'm trying to wrap this up, and of course add all the details that I came up with when I came up with this. So here we go. So as soon as he was reborn, all he could think about was, wow, I really lived an interesting life. Out of all the lives that I lived, with my contempt for humanity and the war and the bloodshed, it's just basically just doing whatever I wanted. This one actually, really touched me. And, of course, he's talking to Steve, showing Steve all this, and Steve is just sitting there, because Steve has entered his realm and has got a bowl of Captain Crunch and a glass of good scotch, which he's almost finished with. Every now and then he takes a bite of the Captain Crunch. He's like, ooh, more scotch. Yeah. Anyway, and just watching this amazing story unfold before his eyes from this god Mark. And so Mark shows him that he was reborn, but all he could think about was that life that he had in the cave with the broken legs, and how he just did not want to influence anyone anymore, and but in this instance, they influenced him. He learned that as he was an influencer, a great influencer, because, he's a god, that's been around for 999,000 years, 30,000 years on this earth, banished. And so his next life, he was born. He actually looked at his parents. He had never really looked at his parents. He never really cared who his fucking parents were, because, they're gone. He's going to live this life, and he's going to die, and he's going to be reborn, and he's going to get another set of parents. But this set of parents, he really kind of was like, wow, okay, these are my parents. They gave birth to me. That's what people do here. They make life. They raise their children to try to be good adults and carry on, right? To have some type of legacy, and of course for him, he thought, well, fuck, they're just doing this whole survival of the species thing, procreation. That's what it's all about, right? So that's what he was thinking in his mind, his contemplation of it all. And so for the very first time in 29,999 years, he really looked at his parents with a type of love. He missed those monks that used to come to him and hang out with him in his cave. They would laugh and talk and bullshit. You know, yeah, they catered to his every whim, as much as, you know, they helped him out. I mean, you know, they helped out a cripple, and he told them his stories, and, you know, he wasn't trying to teach them anything. He did teach them stuff like, you know, medicinal things, and, you know, how to protect yourself, and little tricks of the trade he picked up along the way to kind of, you know, help your performance and enhancement. But he was never really an exalted esoterical master. He wasn't a meditation master. He didn't, you know, he didn't read the sutras, and he didn't practice, you know, compassion. Far from it. He was not a very compassionate person. He was a very, you know, like I said, contempt kind of person. He was, you know, he was trapped. He was banished, and he was imprisoned. He felt like a prisoner. And for the very first time, he did not feel like a prisoner. And in his mind, he was kind of like, well, you know, is this me just succumbing to my fate? You know, I'm forced to stay in this existence, in this plane forever and ever, being reborn and dying and reborn and dying. He's like, okay, all right, fine. And so, you know, I'm going to do one of two things. So he kind of like had a plan. He's like, I'm going to try to help people as much as I can without influencing them, because they don't, every time I try that, something bad happens. But he feels like this last time, his influence, he feels that something good happened. He was definitely changed. Mark was definitely changed. But he knew it was just the beginning. And so he wanted to get into this more. And of course he felt he had the time. And so going back to his childhood of his, you know, who knows how many parents, his last parents, he didn't cry. He smiled. He was pleasant. He, as a kid growing up, he kept himself quiet. He did what he was told. He cleaned his room and did all the things that were expected of him, and he didn't go out. He actually went to a school, and he started learning, you know, for the very first time in his time here on this existence. He went to a school and started to learn, and he was like, wow, this is fascinating. They actually teach kids, you know, how to be adults. Wow, this is great. You know, the whole concept of and the intricacy of how they approached everything. It just it blew his God mind. You know, he said, wow, this is amazing. And it wasn't him that influenced anyone. They figured it out on their own. I was like, no shit. I dig it. Mark actually was like, yeah, this is cool. And so he went through school and he learned a lot of things. A lot of things he learned, he was there. You know, I mean, history, obviously he loved history because he was a part of all the history. All the way back 30,000 years. Some of it, he was like, yeah, I think y'all got that wrong. That part y'all got wrong. But he didn't say nothing. He didn't say nothing. He didn't try to correct anything. He began writing. He's like, you know what? I'm going to start writing. I'm going to start writing a journal. I'm going to, you know, log everything in, you know, try to write every day and or something of that nature. And you know, he's like, okay, all right, I'm gonna try to be a good human. And that's what he did. And well, I mean, this time he was in England at this time. Yes, England, you know, 1800s. And he's going through his life, you know, as a young schoolboy in England, you know, learning all he can and doing all he can to help. Um, he's no stranger. He was no stranger to death and dismay and misery. Those things, it was something that he just found part of this life, and he either was the cause of it or he just ignored it altogether. This life he didn't. As a kid, he was running around helping folks. He was, if he got paid, if he would work little jobs. You know, he would deliver a paper. He would do a bunch of jobs. He took on all these little jobs that kids would take on, you know, and then he would give the money away to some family. Here you go. Here's 500 pounds. What? Yeah. I was working for 2 years for this baker guy delivering bread. You know, So he did all these things, you know, to help out, you know, as a kid. And, you know, his parents, I mean, he knew, I mean, when you're 31,000 years old or 30,000 years old, you got some intelligence about him. So he knew not to let on to everyone what he was doing, you know, especially his parents. He played the role of a good kid. And he did what was expected of him. And by the time that he did all the things as a kid, went into high school, he kind of forgot he was a god. He did. He kind of enjoyed his puberty. You know, he met a girl, you know, got a girlfriend. He's varsity football team. He's, you know, but he knew he was trying to learn this whole compassion thing when it came to, you know, violence. He was very good at violence. You could imagine. I mean, 30,000-year-old martial art master. So football was just like, okay, I gotta be fast, but I can't hit too hard or I'll hurt somebody. But people were getting hurt anyway. People were throwing themselves, you know, at this pigskin, you know, trying to push it up and down the field. And he found that fascinating, you know, absolutely fascinating. And he knew that he couldn't let on that he was a super athlete. You know, he wanted everybody else to shine, and he wanted to help, right? So when when they nominated him for like to be quarterback, he's like, no, I don't want to be quarterback. No, I don't want to be quarterback. You know, well, his parents got involved and said, son, you're a very good quarterback and you should take on this role. And he was like, but Dad, I don't want to show up all the other kids. I don't want their jealousy. Because that begets a whole bunch of other stuff and conflict, and I want them to shine. I don't want me to shine. I know I can shine. I want them to shine. And his father at the time his father was like, son, they need you to shine, to be an example. So that inspires them. Mark is like, really? He's like, yeah. You being the best that you can be brings out the best in other people, especially if you're on a team. And that's what football is. It's a team. It's a team effort. And if you're the leader of that team, a true leader leads from the front, and everybody kind of, fills in the gaps. And yeah, they want your position, and somebody will eventually take your position, because they will become better than you or something, and that's the way it works. That's why they move up, and they will be inspired by you, and they'll remember this for the rest of their lives. You will give them something, a sense of a ways and means to win, through will and intent, and purpose. So he's like, you got to be quarterback. And so Mark had never thought about it that way. He knew that he could influence, but he knew that sometimes it goes bad. Obviously. Going back to Malach, right? You know, have all the sex you want, but the baby stays on the altar, you know. A drunken drug-filled idea that he had, 30,000 years ago or whatever, however long it was. But, he thought about it. He's like, wow, okay, all right. So he devised a plan. He's like, okay, I can be the best quarterback that this world has ever seen. I know this. I've already figured it out in my head. So I have to make some errors in there, but I'm gonna put these errors in where somebody else can step up to save the day. And so that's what he would do. He would throw. He would do a complete pass, 98% of the time. And then every now and then he would just fumble. And he would fumble in front of somebody, and give them the opportunity to grab it and save it, or something like that. So he would fake a fuck up just for those people, those folks on his team, those boys on his team, to save the day. And, it was amazing. It was amazing how tight that team became. And they became friends for the rest of their lives, right? And they went on. They won a lot of games. He knew that they were going to win a lot of games, and that was going to be a little suspect for everyone. So there was one night that he was playing a game, and that he literally threw. It hurt him so bad that he literally threw incomplete passes. If he did anything, he would pass the ball to somebody else so they could run. So he would run running plays instead of doing passing plays. And so it wasn't him that was winning the game or playing the game. It was somebody else. So he was trying to figure that out, trying to work that into his master plan. But it worked. It worked. They won all their games except for 2, which he easily could have won for them. But they had to know some loss too. You got to know some losing. You got to have some losing under your belt to be a winner, right? You just kind of keep. If you lose, if you fall down, get up, try again. First you don't succeed, try again. He had often heard this, and he's kind of dismissed that. I mean, here he is stuck on this earth for 30,000 years doing, birth and death. At first you don't succeed, try again was his curse. So, but he was trying to figure it all out, he's starting to get it. He was starting to get it. Or so he thinks. And so throughout his life, in high school, had a great time. Grew up in England, and he finally gets a job. He's like, okay, I got to get me a job, and I got to get me a car, and I got to go to college. And he was very excited about college because college was this higher learning kind of thing. And yeah, he got a scholarship, and went to didn't go to the best school. He didn't go to Harvard or Yale or Oxford or anything like that. But he went to a school, just a little community kind of college, accredited, but well enough. And he learned so much. And he loved to sit down and philosophy. He dug it. He was like, man, I was there. I was there. And let me tell you, and so he talked about it, and he had to be careful because he knew a lot of these people they were talking about, some of which he actually killed. But anyway, one he was actually was, and that was Lord Tamo. So having this conversation with these philosophers and trying to, they found him very fascinating because he seemed to have a lot more insight into actual specifics than they did, which kind of angered them. But he would always, just he found a way to kind of, fine, whatever you say. If you believe you're right, then you're right, and I'm wrong, then so be it. And it was kind of a, his malevolence was switching to benevolence. That was this life. He had spent 29,999 years of malevolence existence on this planet, and now in the last 2 lifetimes he is now switching, kind of, he's starting to understand this benevolence thing. And so gets out of college. He's working at a law firm, learning law. He's doing a lot of law things. He's not a lawyer or anything, but he's working for a law firm, and he finds it quite exciting. He's in his little Oxford. He's having tea, and he's got his little reading glasses, and he's in his 20s. The girlfriend that he married is now his wife, or the girlfriend that he had. They're married now. Now it's his wife, and she's pregnant. And he's just carrying on like, okay, yeah, this is great. And then it dawns on him as he's sitting there going over papers, and he's like, I'm having a kid. I've never had a kid. Have I? I've had a few kids that I didn't care about. There was a lot of raping and pillaging going on. And if I had kids, I didn't know. I didn't care. This one I care about. This one he really, really cared about. And while he was sitting there in his stoically drinking tea with the boys of the law firm, he literally just broke down crying. He just, hands in his face, and he was crying. And it was tears of sadness, tears of joy. He knew that this kid, he knew that he knew that this was very impermanent, and he really did wish that this kid that didn't have to suffer in this existence, but he wanted to make the best for it, right? And of course, all his mates, all his law firm buddies are just like, "Are you okay, Mark? Are you okay? What's going on here? We've got a deposition to do here. Come on, get with it. Come on, man. Drink your tea like a gentleman. What are you crying for?" And he's just like, I'm having a baby. I'm having a kid. And a lot of his older co-workers were like, I've had 3 so far. My wife has probably had 1 I don't know about. 1 is probably not mine. Just kind of thing like that. And he's just like, how can you be so callous? He's thinking to himself, and he's like, wow, I'm having a baby. I'm bringing a life into this world. I'm creating a life, and I really, really want to protect it. I really want to share it. I really want to... Fuck! Dad! Really? He gets it. Now he gets it. And right there, he stops crying and he quits his job. He's like, I'm done. I'm done. Guys, I'm done. Yeah, I gotta go. And he goes home. He goes home and he says, son, or he says, wife, I gotta go. Gotta go. I gotta leave. I gotta leave. Here is more money than is ungodly possible for you to ever spend in your whole entire life. Here's your, for our son. And I gotta go. I have to go. I have to go. And she's like, you're leaving me? But you're leaving me rich? It's like, I just got to go somewhere for a couple years. I'll probably be back. I have to go. I have to go. But if I survive, then then I'll come back. But if not, then please understand that I did try to come back. And she's like, I don't understand. He's like, you won't. You won't. I'll send you a letter. I'll write it all in a letter. And he leaves. He leaves. I like to say that he watched the birth of his son, but he did not want that. He had already knew. He already seen 1,000 births, 1,000,000 births. But this one he knew. He had already seen it, and he already knew that he couldn't. There was no way he could handle it. And so, as a God, there was one thing he couldn't do, right? And all the experiences he had on this planet, it's one thing he couldn't do, is watch the birth of his own son. And so he leaves, and he goes off. Now, yeah, that I mentioned, he's insanely rich. He can make money. I mean, the guy's 30,000 years old. He can make some money. He knows how to make money. He knows how to save money. So he's got money. He just has no use for it. So it's funny. When you don't have use for money, you got all of it. Yeah, you have more than you ever need. But when you absolutely, totally need it, you ain't have shit. Ain't life like that. So he hops on a train. He hops on a boat. He heads into China. Actually, he goes through Timbuktu, and he goes through all over like India, but he's trying to get back to the Shaolin Temple. He's trying to get back to that cave. He's going through India. He hears about the Himalayas. He's like, I remember the Himalayas. It was fucking gold. And he goes through there, and then finally he gets to the Shaolin Temple. Things have changed. He sees how they have really not changed much. The world around them has changed, but nothing else. And so in this life, he is a pasty white Englishman, and he's walking the countryside of China, and China at this time is a bustling place, and they don't like foreigners too much, especially Westerners, for good reason. So, but he doesn't care. I mean, he understands all that, but he doesn't care. He goes to his cave. His cave is now a shrine. And there he starts to cry. He just sits there and just cries. Just cries. Crying. All his friends are gone. Old and dead. Now there's all these like little writings and sculptures of him and paintings, and he can go to Shaolin Village and hang out and have a coffee. Couldn't do that before. He had to beg for rice there. They were still living in straw huts, and they had mud roads, and now they have streets, paved streets, and electricity. Wow. Amazing. Masonry. Wow. And he goes to the steps of Shaolin. The doors are open. You can walk right on in. He's amazed. Still the same doors. Still the same steps. And when he walks in, he just looks at all the sights in the inner courtyard where he spent so much time. And it changed his life, really. Changed one of his lives, indeed. All he could see is ghost of the past. It hurt him so, very much so. The pain was great. But there was a type of joy. A joy knowing that he was there. I was there. He starts to see monks that he thinks he recognizes. Ha! It's you! You know, and he's like, wait, no, it can't be. You know, this guy's 20-something years old. You know, this was hundreds of years ago. And then he notices, he sees the Lama. He sees all the arhats. Yes, I remember that word, the arhats. All the arhats, they're walking around in the same robes that they were wearing when he was there, doing the exact same things. He's like, this epiphany just kind of came over him. He's like, in the 29,999 years that I've been on this planet, I have seen the same people over and over again. Are they a traveler like me and just don't know it? It's all the same. Everyone is the same. Some people are the splitting image of people he used to know hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. Crazy. And so Shaolin, you can take a tour. You can walk around, learn things, talk to people. You still gotta, you can't. There's a lot of things that are off limits, and so whatever. Yet he was able to talk to folks in their language, some old Mandarin. They were amazed, like, wow, how'd you know this? And it's amazing. And he's like, how is? And he named off the Lama. He named off the guys that used to hang out with him in the cave. He's like, whatever happened to these? And like, we'll show you. And there's their images, their likenesses. They all became arhats. They all became, heads of the Shaolin Temple at some time. It also pained him greatly to see that a great war came through, and a lot of these guys died in wars. Shaolin has got a very colorful past. But he had to go back. He had to see. This is where he was basically reborn for the very first time, where he felt compassion. He felt humanity. He felt humbled, really humbled. He'd never been humbled in his life. And there was a meditation going on, and he wanted to join in, a guided meditation. He had never done that before. He'd never tried to meditate. You know, sit there and become still. You know, remember, it's all about nirvana. You know, the art of stillness to achieve nothingness. And he tried it, and his experience when he meditated and he started doing you have a mantra in your head, you know, and om, and he does this, and that's to get you into some type of rhythm with your breathing, you know, and I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out, and then afterwards you just don't even, you forget that you're breathing, and you forget that everything is, you know, the world is not there anymore. He automatically, boom, went right into subconsciousness, and all his lives came rushing back to him. Everything he had ever done, everyone that he had ever seen, everyone that he's ever hurt, everyone that he's ever influenced, he's seen it all. And of course, it all comes back to the Shaolin. And the smiles and the laughters of his brethren that hung out with him and nursed him to health, and drank sake and ate rice, and, you know, endured the freezing cold in a cave, a wet cave. They made benches together. They made the beds. You know, he's like, yeah, all this furniture in here I made. Me and my friends made this. He enjoyed that so much. That was his experience. The experience that everyone else had while he was meditating changed their life as well. While everyone was meditating, eyes closed, breathing, all they could see was this bright light, blinding, with their eyes closed, blinding. It was like looking into the sun. You know, people were grimacing, and of course they'd open their eyes, and all they could see was this bright light everywhere. That'll break your meditation. There were some that just continued to meditate, and afterwards they said, "Yeah, I seen a bright light." Well, hell yeah, I seen a bright light. That was Mark. It was absolutely glowing, just the brightest fucking light you ever seen in your life. The sun had set down in their meditation hall. And the arhats and the priests are like, oh, Buddha bless you, oh, you know, Amitabha, Amitabha. And unbeknownst to him, he's just sitting there enjoying his you know, reflection of his lives. And we started to come out of it. It's like, oh. Everybody is standing up watching him doing this. Master. And he's like, what? You know, here he is thinking that you know, he's passing for just a regular human. Nah, he was glowing. Glowing, I tell you, glowing. Brilliant light was emitting from him. It's undeniable. He was a god. And when he came to, he kind of seen a little glow afterward. He's like, is that normal to see a glow? They're like, Master, you were glowing. He's like, no, I'm not your master. No, I'm not. I'm just some guy. Just some dude that just wandered in here and started meditating. I thank you. He's like, no, you must be Buddha. You were glowing. We got pictures. No pictures. No. What's a picture? No. you know, uh, and that kind of throws Mark back a little bit. He's like, no. Did I influence again? So he asked him, he's like, what happened? They said you started to glow. You must be some type of master. Please tell us your secrets. And so he says, okay, take me into the inner sanctum. I wish to speak with all your arhats and all your lama and everybody. Let's have some tea. I'll tell you everything. And so everybody there was just like, wow, unprecedented. Thousands, 3,000 years, 2,500 years. I forget how old Shaolin is. They never heard of anything of this thing. They've had some stories. They've got a few crazy stories, but nothing like this, right? And so this guy walks in, this regular English white man, 6'2", good shape, in his 30s. And he sits down with him and he's discussing in their language, perfect Chinese. Perfect old Chinese. They're like, we don't use that word anymore. Oh, that's the only Chinese I know. Sorry. So he proceeds to tell them the story of the Lord, of what they call Lord Tamo. He's like, that was me. You shunned me and broke my legs, banished me. Remember that? I'm back. And I'm like, what? Really? It's like, yep, I'm back. It's taking me a while, but I'm back. And I've learned a lot, and I thank you. And here they are thinking, oh no, he's here for revenge, or because they did break his legs, right? They know the stories too. They know the stories of that's what they would do if you were unruly. Well, they beat you with a club, a very long stick. That was their famous weapon, favorite weapon. I was like, we didn't know we broke your legs. We didn't know that you were hiding in a cave until after a while that the monks, started to tell your stories. But that was a different time in Shaolin, where they had a very strict code of basically fuck them. That's the outside world, and that's drama that we don't want. So, but that old man in the cave with the broken legs and the monks, the young monks that used to come and visit and take care of you, and we never heard that story. We heard their stories of your tales and your teachings, but we never heard the stories of what y'all did. It's like, yeah, man, we had fun. We were brothers. Even though everyone here in Shaolin is brothers, we in that cave, we were brothers. We ate together, we drank together, we laughed together, we fought together. They would teach me some kung fu. I'd fight with them because I knew some shit too. Mark was just, he just let it out, and he talked to him like that. I was like, yeah, I found humanity. And they're like, what do you mean you found humanity? It's like, well, now this is going to sound strange, but I'm a god that's been banished here for 29,999 years. Cursed to walk the lands, cursed to go through reincarnation, as you called it. It's a curse. And they're just like, what? No, that's not how it works. No, I'm like, I'm telling you, that's how it's working for me. hundreds of years later, they're just like, wow. Well, it's got to be true. I mean, it's, wow. And he said in all those lifetimes, he has never felt compassion. He's never practiced compassion until now. I've done a very good job of never. I've done a very good job in this lifetime of not harming anyone. I haven't killed anyone. I haven't really harmed anyone. He said he got in a fight in school one time and he let the guy hit him. And didn't even blink an eye. Just, okay, you feel better now? Okay, bye. So the Shaolin are blown away. Mark is, going through some things. He's reconnecting with himself and that life. The beginnings, right? And so he asked the question. He's like, what do I do now? Where do I go with this? I want to help, but I don't want to really be a influence, because influence has never been good for me. You see what happened with the Lord Tamo. You broke my legs. But I did influence the history of Shaolin in a good way, huh? Wow. Enhanced everything. And they said, well, here at the monastery, we try to carry on our practices and beliefs, and our practices and our learning without the obstruction of outside world. And he's like, well, I do love the outside wood. I love the wilderness. I love the lions and tigers and bears and the snakes and the rats and the bugs and the trees and the rain, the snow and the heat. I didn't like people. Now I'm starting to get people. I want to help people. But every time I do, this God thing happens and I start to influence folks. And I'm trying to learn how to influence in a better way to help people without really influencing. Like my dad said, they want me to succeed. People like to see other people succeed because it's an inspiration for them. Like, hey, he's doing it. I can do it too. And it's a way to work towards a better you. We all have those role models in lives, right? But he's never really had a role model. And for him to take on the mantle of role model, it seemed like a very daunting task for him. Like I said, he's a prisoner on a prison planet. He told him, I left a wife and kid. I've never had a wife and kid that I really cared about. I've had wives, I've had concubines, I've probably sired, 1,000 kids in my lifetime through rape, pillage, and plundering, but never like this. Like, yeah, you created a life. And one of the old priests is like, yeah, I'm a dad too. I got kids. I had to walk away from them. It was the best thing for them and for me. It's a hard life. It's a hard life. But walking this path, it's what you got to do. And so Mark says, I can't stay either, because I don't want to be your God. I have to go. I'm going out into the wilderness. And of course they're begging and pleading, please stay with us. Young master, please. And they're like, no, I gotta go. I gotta go into the wilderness, and I need to meditate more. I need to by myself in seclusion, complete and total seclusion. Because obviously meditation is something here for me. It's different for me than it is for you guys. And one of the monks is like, not necessarily. Read this. This has happened a few times. I'm like, what? Yeah. The stories go on. The Tibetan monks. You want seclusion? Go to the Himalayas. Go to the Tibetan monks. Yeah, they got a mountain. They got a temple up there. There's stories going on up there. These guys meditate till they die, and you don't even know they're dead yet. For days they don't decompose, weeks even. They meditate themselves when they're dying. They meditate until they die, and then it continues. So you really don't know if they're dead or not until weeks after. So while in death, they are meditating still and achieving stillness. And bright lights have been seen to come from their bodies. But the amazing thing is that they just don't decompose. Like there's a story that there's a Dalai Lama that's been locked in a room for hundreds of years, and he's been dead for hundreds of years, so they think, but he's still there, sitting there, looks the same, not decomposed or anything. They're like, wow, there's something to this, huh? So he's like, that's where I'm going. I'm going to the Tibetan monks. Oh, and then, they're like, I'll take you. I'll guide you. No. I know the way. I know where the Himalayas are, over there. I've been there before. Been there a few times. But this time was different. So Mark, he bade them all adieu and walked out of the Shaolin. And he walked out into the wilderness. And he kept walking. And at nights he would meditate a little bit. He would find a very secluded place. He would make sure that nobody was around. And he'd try this meditation thing. Again and again and again and again. And each time his past would come back. Because he had a very extensive past, and it's hard to get away from that. Each time the past would haunt him, and he would actually start to see himself through the eyes of everyone that's ever seen him. And he started experiencing what they experienced when they seen him, when they met him, when he killed them, when he raped them, when he murdered them, when he pillaged them, when he helped them. He started to experience what they were experiencing. So he had a lot. He was fascinated by this. It's like everybody I had ever come in contact with, I get to experience how they felt, how they seen me, up into their last moments or throughout their whole life. And so he had a lot of meditation to go through. But he found that he could make a lot of time pass by just sitting around. One time he meditated for a week and a half. He's like, wow. It was summer when I started to meditate. Now it's spring and fall and what's going on here? Yeah, meditated through the seasons, and all the time there would be these animals flying around, jumping around. He crawled into a cave one time. He found a cave. He was on the steps, if you will, coming into that area, and he crawled into a cave. It was nice. It was big. It was dark. He started to meditate. And he was out for a while. It was cold outside. And he was meditating. And he was meditating, and he started to experience some of what the wildlife was experiencing through their eyes when they would meet him. They seen him as a man, but as a man that was kind of a ghost-like figure and kind of floated around. They didn't see him as meat. They didn't see him as food. Now, mind you, he has been killed by animals, but now with his wanderlust in the wilderness, they didn't see him as that, and so they kind of seen him as this kind of wafting little spirit walking around. It was nice. It was nice. It was kind of accepting. It was like oh, he's one of us. The wilderness, the creatures of the wilderness. You're like, oh, he's one of us. And when he came out of meditation, there's a big, huge grizzly bear sleeping at his feet. Damn. That grizzly bear, usually grizzly bears try to kill you, especially if you're in their cave. This one was curled up at his feet, just sleeping. So he comes out of the cave. He finally gets through the wilderness and meditates through all the way to the Himalayas. He gets there. Luckily, he gets there around summertime, so it's not that cold, but still fucking cold. And he makes his way into Tibet. Tries to get into the monastery there, and speak to the Dalai Lama, and he says, "Hey, I just came from Shaolin. I have an interesting dilemma that I need to discuss with you about." And he spoke to them in their language. This Englishman. So they were right off the bat. They were just kind of like, "Is this guy a spy? Is he?" At that time, China was really fucking with them. 1800s. China wanted, they had some issues with Tibet. But Tibet was really just super peaceful. Always has been, really. Except for that whole Mongolian thing. But hey, anyway. That's another story. Yeah. Mark was there for that too. Yeah. But for him, it was just a dream, a murderous rage dream. So they really didn't trust him. And he's like, "That's fine. I'll wait. I'll tell you what. Get in contact with the Shaolin Temple. I'll sit here and wait. I don't mind. I've done it many times before. I'll wait. And if I die as I'm waiting, I'll come back in the next life, and I'll wait." We have things to discuss of most importance. And so they're like, what's going on here? Here it is, this foreigner talking about he knows some things. What does he know? Shaolin Temple, what the fuck? I mean, ad-libbing for a Dalai Lama, but, for a Tibetan Dalai Lama. But anyway, yeah, it's my story, damn it. No, actually, it's the story of Mark's. Anyway. So he sits there. He's just chilling. He's not meditating or anything. He's just sitting. He's a master meditator now. He can literally just sit, do nothing, and be cool, be good. Perfect health, perfect breath, everything. And so they observed this, that he could just sit, eyes open, like watching around. No big deal. No, not moving at all. So they brought him in. Like, okay, we're gonna have a meeting. The Dalai Lama would love to meet you. Please come in. And the Dalai's like, hey, I'm the Dalai Lama. Yeah, I've been here. I'm the 34th Dalai Lama. And Mark is like, you're the 34th Dalai Lama? Well, I am the millionth Mark. Nice to meet you. Like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, I've been here for 29,999 years. That's how long I've been here. Reincarnating. What? No, really? Yeah, I'm a god. I'm a god that's been banished here for my insolence as a youngin, by my father. And here I am. And I'd like to stay and learn and possibly teach you something. I don't know. I don't know what I could teach you. I'm an idiot. But I'm learning. And I like compassion. I want to help. I want to learn how to help. And he's like, I can meditate. Like, oh, can you? I was like, yeah, Dalai Lama says, well, I did notice how you could just sit and sit still in your waking state. Interesting. And Mark is like, oh, you should see me when I meditate. I glow. Really? You glow? Ah. Hey, boys, we got us a live one here. Yeah, I glow. It's actually a blinding light. I don't know. And so they're like, okay, fine. You can come and meditate with us. And they all want to observe this meditation, this blinding light. And sure enough, they're all sitting around. And first it starts out with their chanting. They like to chant, and the singing, and then they settle in for the mindfulness meditation, where they sit and be mindful and do nothing, stillness. The Dalai Lama was faking that he was, meditating, and sure enough, boom, Mark starts to just boom, glow, emit these brilliant bright lights, and now you're seeing colors come off of him, and he's like, whoa, holy shit, this guy's for real. So after meditation, after them watching him meditate, they have a dinner. They feed him. Everybody eats, right? And lots of conversation. And so the Dalai Lama is like, well, they say I'm the 34th Dalai Lama, but I don't really remember. The only way I remember is that they give me a toy and they say, yeah, this was your toy when you were a kid in your last life. I'm like, really? I was? Yeah. He's like, but you remember every life, everything. Mark says, yeah, I remember every life, every death. But my last 2 lives have been the most meaningful. And when I had a kid, had a wife and a kid, and I brought in this kid into this life, into this world, I lost it. I could no longer... I tried to be human. I tried. I tried to enjoy the human existence, and I have. I still am. But I believe that I'm doing... I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't know what my Father is doing by banishing me here. And finally, I have a kid that is going to go through so much suffering in this life. And I hope that I could give him something, but I can't. I can't be there for him. I have to go. I have to run away. The only thing I could do is give him ungodly sums of money in the hopes that he would be free and be free of any kind of suffering, And so the Dalai Lama asked him, he's like, do you love your son? And Mark had to sit there and think about that for a minute. Yes. Love. Love. Is that what that is? My wife? I loved her, I guess. We made love. But in making love, we made a son. And I loved him so much I had to run away. Why is that? Is that love? I gave him all my money, which was a lot of money. Oh, here you are. I'm looking over here. There you are. I'm looking. You look into my eyes. Anyway, that's love. I thought I felt it in Shaolin when I was Lord Tamo, hanging out with my buddies in the cave. Dalai Lama's like, yeah, that's brotherly love. That's friendship. So you experience friendship, and now you experience love. You should go to your son. Forget this higher awareness stuff. You have a kid. You should go to him. And Mark is like, but I'm onto something here. I'm glowing when I meditate. I can meditate. I can do these amazing things as a human. Even though I'm a god stuck in a human's body, I'm starting to get somewhere. Starting to understand something. And the Dalai Lama is like, first you have to understand love. Go to your son. Be a father. And then come back and we'll talk.